These are some Dinar Guru updates, starting off with Pimpy in response to Militiaman's June 20th and 21st post. Pimpy says about a year and a half ago, Iraq mentioned they wanted to remove the 50,000 and 25,000 dinars out of circulation and use them specifically for bank transaction or large business transactions. What he's not understanding is if they go to redenominate, remove zeros off of them, it doesn't mean that they won't keep the large denominations to do business transactions. But if you're carrying around 25,000 and 50,000 dinars as a civilian, you're going to have to trade those in, or you might risk the chance of losing out because it becomes obsolete. Pimpy goes on to say, or question, so will they continue to use the 50 and 25,000 dinars to do large bank transactions? Pimpy says, of course that's possible. Well, will the dinar note look the same as we know today? Pimpy says, heck no. Those notes will no longer be any good. He's mixing two things up. He's talking about banknotes where they delete the zeros or the lop off the zeros and the exchange rate. Wikipedia quote, redenomination itself is considered symbolic as it does not have any impact on a country's exchange rate in relation to other currencies. It may, however, have a psychological impact on the population, unquote. Pimpy says, so it has nothing to do with the exchange rate. Walking Stick via Frank 26 question, what do you think about the WTO? Walking Stick says, I think WTO is a big telltale sign. Member of the WTO can have multiple currencies to buy, sell, and trade with, but it really is not a smart thing to do. I know Vietnam uses multiple currencies. I know they keep their rate down, but I also know they don't really have that much to trade like they want. They're growing globally, but to be a member of the WTO, you can use multiple currencies. Iraq has decided to only use their currency. Powerful that is for the international world. Militiaman says they're talking about establishing a city that's a financial and business center in Iraq. Could you imagine 1 square mile or half a mile of a high-rise buildings for all financial district on the amount of money that's going to cost, the amount of materials it's going to take to do that kind of endeavor? They don't have enough dinar at 1310 to ever do that. All right, Paulette says the CBI has a lot to accomplish prior to budget funds being dispersed. Look at how busy Alak was this past weekend. Hopefully, we see implementation of the Delete the Zeros project prior to the budget becoming law, and certainly hope before any funds are dispersed. Simultaneously or shortly after the implementation of the Delete the Zeros project, hopefully the IMF launches the reinstatement of the IQD, magnifying the purchasing power of the budget disbursements, allowing for all those rebuilding projects to be funded. If we are to see the RI this year, we have a huge window ahead. Frank 26 says the key to the new exchange rate is the budget. The key to be a member of the WTO is what's inside that budget. All right, Pimpy has an article, quote, Iraq pays its WTO membership amounts, unquote. Pimpy says this is good news. Iraq has finally paid their membership dues and they can continue to move forward doing what they need to do to ascend into membership with the World Trade Organization. And there's a Dinar Guru news flash. This has multiple reports coming in from the gurus. The 2023, 2024, and 2025 budget has been signed by the president. This was the next step in the budget becoming an official law and about 10 days earlier than most expected. Mark Zevia PK has a quote, Iraq's president ratifies record 152 billion budget criticized by IMF for too rosy projections, unquote. Mark Z says, in other words, unless there is a change in value, Iraq cannot pay those bills. It is clear to me Iraq is expecting a substantial change in value. Also, an article that they were signing the HCL law is a big, big day in Iraq. Frank 26, Iraq boots on the ground report Firefly. President approves the budget. It's in our media news. We now have the budget. The Minister of Trade is on the news channel 1 saying Iraq is in the process of doing all the things that is needed to become members of the WTO. The news is also showing anti-money laundering committees talking about ways to deter Corruption, also talking about the dollar exchange rate. And General Flynn, this is part one of two. And General Flynn is a retired U.S. Army Lieutenant General, and he says the writing that's on the wall is this shift to a central bank digital currency system is going to change the very nature of the strength of the US dollar globally. I see this happening in the next 90 days, not the next 20 years. I think this is going to happen very quickly. What Iraq is saying is, look, in order for our sovereignty to be maintained, we've got to strengthen the dinar, their version of the dollar, and lower the value of the US dollar, and we've got to stop using the US dollar as the currency of choice when we do trade agreements, when we do business. And part two will be coming.